What's up, gang? And today, now, I want to talk about a concept of the video will be about the power of Saturn and how the system got the hold of everything. It's very similar to the aspect of circles, but to some degree it's a little different at this point because, for example, to some degree, you have also different people, right, being linked together, but at this point I'm talking it through the framework, through the lens of status and money and shit like that. So for example, the most miserable person who is a miserable person if he's a miserable person, he still can be somebody because this world of Saturn, this matrix, this system is being governed by status and money, to some degree. So for example, if you're a miserable person, you still can be somebody because you will have money, type shit like that. And I remember few maybe weeks ago, I didn't have memory for me to make a video, so I actually made some notes. And it's like one of the examples how it maybe was before. Back then, let's go to the Viking age, right? Back then, how it was like, let's say you have a swordsman. Everybody know he's a good swordsman, right? Everybody know he's a good warrior. He protects, he brings bread to some degree, he brings money in, and people respected him for that, for him being him, type shit like that, and now, to some degree, if you are a warrior but you're fighting for your own cause and you're not actually bringing in, or you're not having that type of status, or you're poor with money, people will not even consider you respecting you to some degree because you're not being leveled. You don't have a level. You're not on that level as a person, as in this system type shit. This is the energies of when you have the energies of the Saturnian planets, of the Saturnian signs, and which is Capricorn and Aquarius, and their oppositions, which is the feeling signs, which is Cancer and Leo, right? So for example, where you're being not judged, but where you're being praised and you're being respected because of your energies, living in the country, living in the system which is more about status, you're not being looked at you're being looked at what you have, because you're living in the Saturnian, Saturn-like domain. Going further, even if you're like a scum and you have money, you can be somebody and you can be respected. And it's like sometimes you get lucky with money, and to some degree this domain of money, it's demonic itself, because you can snitch on somebody, do it because of money, and you will have money, and now you as scum, you are a miserable person because you snitch on somebody, but you're still somebody because you have money. Shit like that, bars and shit. But yeah, going back to the Viking age, so then you have a warrior, and then you have like a person who let's say you have a smith, right, who makes swords and shit like that, and you have a warrior pulling up to him and being like, the warrior pulled up to him not because of some status or some money. Back then the warrior pulled up to the person because the person was a good smith, and since the warrior is a good warrior, he needs to have a good sword, That's why he's going to the good smith and telling him like, bro, can you make me a good weapon? And it's like back then, that status of being a good swordsman or being a good smith was scaled on the aspect of how much time did you invest into that. Because if you were born in a Smith family, where your grandparent was a Smith, your father was a Smith, your big brother was a Smith, now you are a Smith, you went that energy of being a Smith went through such a long distance, had such a long pattern and evolution from it, later detailing and making it, perfecting it on with time, and giving that knowledge later on, that was making him status like in as a good Smith, you know. But now at this point, it's like now. So then you have a warrior pulling up to him, especially because he was like, okay, I know your grandfather was a Smith, I know your father was a Smith, I know your big brother was a Smith, and you are a Smith, and that's why I trust you more than I trust some other guy who was promoted because he went through some stages of development which was made for this Saturn-like domain, you know. So that's where you have, for example, now not every person can be a doctor, even though if his father, his mother, his grandfather, his grandmother, his big brother, big sister were doctors, he will not be a doctor. He will not be seen as a doctor. He will not go through certain stages of school, university, then internships, then I don't know, getting experience in that shit, you know. And but even that little kid can be more knowledgeable than the doctor, because imagine how much the topic of being a nurse or being a doctor was mentioned in his family since he was born into that family. Like all he did was hearing that his father was into it, his mother was into it, the lifestyle that they had was into it. He was born into that lifestyle. That's his culture to some degree now. But he will not be seen as a doctor if he will not go through stages of build up, which is university, which is actually being a doctor and shit like that. He will not be seen as a doctor. And that's where you have this fucked up thingy that you can be the most best football player, even because you have skills. You played all you were investing yourself. You spent a lot of time actually playing football. But if you will not go through certain stage, I mean, like maybe football is a bad example, but I would say somehow near something very close with North. Just an example, right? You will not be a football player if you will not go through certain stages of evolution. But the thing is, like on the other side, is like when you go through that stage of evolution, which is university, which was created by that matrix, that system domain, if you'll not go in that evolution, you can add your own features which will be maybe interesting to some other people, and they will pay more attention to actually like even considering more to go to you to check themselves, check their health, than to the doctor, because they know like, okay, he's very knowledgeable in being a doctor. He was born into that culture, and he has some recipe that was given on with generations, you know, because all his ancestors were invested into that. And let's maybe consider going to him and not to that system, which is kind of similar. And this little kiddo who was born in the culture of nurses or doctors, maybe he will add features that are not beneficial to the system, and that's why he will not be seen as a doctor if he'll not go on the ladder of that system, type shit like that, you know. Because to some degree he can say like, bro, pills is not actually healthy, you don't have to take pills, which is being hella promoted in this structure of universities, doctors and shit like that. They actually give out pills, you know. But the guy who was born into the culture of being doctors and nurses, back then there were like no pills, and they know how to come with it in better ways. They know how to maybe here they will give you a pill, but for your mental illness, but there they will actually sit down with you and they will talk to you and they will find the root of that mental illness that you have, and it's like to some degree it's not beneficial for the system, and that's why they will be like, yeah, he cannot be a doctor, he doesn't have a license, nobody go to him, if somebody will go to him, we have no responsibilities, you may die, or even let's give him fines for him not having a certificate and actually being a doctor low-key and not paying taxes, because you cannot okay, if you're not paying taxes it's kind of illegal, right? But for you to pay taxes you have to some degree have a let's say not a certificate, but you need to have some type of office registered which says like, yeah, I'm this worker, I'm working here, and that's how you'll be registered, and they'll be like, okay, now we can take money from you for your work, type shit like that. First of all, if you'll do it low-key like a freelancer, you'll not pay taxes, which is not benefiting the system, but people are still going to you, and it's like, but if you'll be under the system, you are not also beneficial, because you will expose some parts which will not be beneficial in that system. You will expose them, and people will be like, oh yeah, actually I don't have to take pills for my mental illness, I can actually sit down and talk to him, and I'm being way more healthier, and I'm actually curing my mental illness when I just take pills and I just forget about them and just sit there like a I don't know, like a stone head, pod head, and just like forget about my problems, till I get another dose, and then I forget about them as well again. So yeah, so that's not beneficial, and they cannot, to some degree, they cannot control you. If you're that guy, it's like also going back to the swordsman and smiths and shit like that. If you're a swordsman or like you're a smith, you know what you are doing, you are a good swordsman, or you know that you are a good warrior, you know that you are a good smith, and you don't need nobody coming and giving your certificate or proving your shit, because you know you are the one, and you have proofs, you have receipts from other people who will say that you are the shits, and one sec, I forgot my thought. And that's maybe why you have money involved. Oh yeah, so also money involved and shit like that. But then you have, okay, I have 5%. Then you have a person coming in. Okay, I lost my thought completely. But something like similar to that. That you're being the shits. Oh yeah, you're being the shits. So you don't need to have receipts. And you're like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do because I myself. If you need a good warrior, you have to give me a cause for fighting. But if your cause for fighting is some bullshit, I'm not participating in that. That goes back to the circles of hell. But now you have money and status involved, and it's like you're not gonna be shits if we are not controlling you. If we cannot control you, why we actually need you, type shit like that, But if you go to the evolution of universities and jobs and shit like that, you're to some degree being controlled, because like how you'll get money if you don't have a certificate, if you cannot find a job, if nobody says like, where's your education, I cannot take you to my work because I cannot hire you because you have zero education. But even though you're more educated than the people who are sitting in that job, it's like, if you don't have a paper, I cannot take you in, blah blah blah. And that's how people who are actually the shits are losing their power. So yeah, so that's the system of Saturn and shit like that. I will talk about the planet Saturn and why I'm saying this is the Saturn system and the Saturn matrix. I will talk about that planet later on, but that's actually the summary of the whole shit, that the world that we live in, a Saturn-like world that is governed by Saturn or Satan, I don't know, it's all allegories to the same energy, to the same fire. So just keep on going being you and fuck the bullshit. Actually, as I mentioned before, you can play a dummy, play a fool, but just know what you are doing and don't lose yourself, type shit like that. do shit maybe, because since we are living in this metric world, you have to participate in the metrics, right? But don't lose yourself because of that metric. Don't lose your fire because some Aquarius decided to use your fire, you know. Don't forget about your fire, tips like that. But I'll talk about the energies and zodiac later too. So have fun, just do you. And as a, yeah, love